The Empire of Izmir has long been a divided land.
Narration. Also narration that Dungeons & drags on for 45 seconds with nothing more than CGI smoke to keep me occupied.
Ruled by the mages, an elite group of magic users.
Yeah, we know what mages are, narrator. Everyone watching this movie is either a D&D nerd or a Christian secretly wanting to learn more about the super very bad "oh no, Satan is using your imagination for dice rolls" game that their cult leader, pastor, warned them about. I think we're supposed to immediately be in awe of this unique device that is doing some things that are really important somehow, but instead I'm distracted by partial skulls strewn all over this undercity sewer layer. Where did they come from? Why are there no jawbones? Why is everyone so casual about them? Why are some of their sockets filled in, which makes them appear to simply be decorative? And if they are decorative, why not place them in appealing patterns? There must have been other architectural options that would have helped Profion avoid getting poo-poo sewer water on his robes, right? We all know he's the asshole, but he doesn't have to smell like one. Ooh, the spelly woo-woo words worked on the twisty swirls for the glow stick thing. Excitement?
Release him.
But master, not him. If we release him, who will be the subject of our evil pronoun gaming? You see, this is the problem with movies from the 80s trying to pull off stuff like this. The technology wasn't. This movie came out in goddamn 2000? Damn it, that's the same year as Mission to Mars and Red Planet. Okay, those movies aren't great either, but they look better than this shit.
You are mine.
Profion can stop this dragon in its tracks, but apparently only after he lets it kill some of his henchmen. I'm not saying he has to give a shit about them, but this feels particularly wasteful.
You can control dragons.
But who can control the makeup artists? Who?
With the dragon army at my command, I can crush the Empress and control what is rightfully mine.
Premature expositional celeb dragobration. Ah yes, the mighty Dor, the true villain of every D&D campaign and the scourge of dragons and rancors alike. I wonder if Profion has realized that he could have tested this rod by attempting to mind control the dragon through a gate or something. Toss in a cow for it to eat. Tell it not to eat the cow. It breaks the spell and eats the cow. You now know your scepter is busted. And really, all you've lost is a cow. I'm fine with the magic dragon blood setting fire to water, but I don't understand why it's branching out in veins like this. Why are these stretches of water more magically flammable than the rest of the water?
Why is it every time something bad happens, you gotta blame the mages, huh? Well, when was the last time you saw a river catch on fire?
Jimmy Olsen would roll a natural 20 at CinemaSins and Dragons.
We'll break into the magic school.
No.
Think of what we could get, and with the fire, it won't be heavily guarded.
This massive reach and logic may seem sinful, but the common thinking thief is actually correct. There are 0 guards, mages, or even a 3-headed dog to stop these two from breaking into discount Hogwarts. Another movie with one of these bullshit Coliseum-style wide-open Senate meeting areas. Yeah, it looks impressive, but it's a huge waste of space, and half the people in here can't hear shit.
See our friend Vilda. Make sure that he's no longer around to give our young Empress any more good advice.
Good advice that Profion could also benefit from, right? Vildan seems to be the only one here who knows about the rod of red dragoning, so why not continue to spy on him for information? Regardless, doesn't killing him also risk exposing Profion as the evil bastard he is? The window is bright, as if well lit from the inside, but the room they drop into is dark. Also, the section that Ridley and Snails appear to be climbing is about 4 stories up, at least, and it doesn't appear to have a way to access it without a rope, meaning these two have enough energy to scale multiple sections of the tower to reach this specific window that drops perfectly into the room filled with the loot. You're asking me to believe they can still breathe after that much cardiovascular work?
Why we just rob God while we up here?
Blasphemy. The lack of imagination while sprinkling in some actual D&D into the plot is disheartening. Snails screams as he thieves, which is clearly a nat 1 of some kind. Why would the writers miss out on that fun wink to the source material? Have him say, I feel like I'm always at a disadvantage when I sneak around. And Ridley would quip back, you naturally have the worst luck. See, it's not that hard if I can figure out a way to make this more fun for the nerds.
I've already told you, Marina, the Empress can't use her scepter of gold dragon control, or Profion will paint her as a tyrant.
Marina, being a terrible listener, allows Vildan to over-exposit parts of the plot. Great for the audience, but couldn't we have just been present for the original conversation and not make Marina look like a slacker?
I feel like I should be doing something more than shelving books.
Can't have a fantasy movie without the cliche, underappreciated daydreamer with delusions of grandeur that ends up having greatness thrust upon them. Sorry, I mean, you absolutely can have a movie without that. We just never do. Don't you shush G.I. Joe Rise of the Cobra's Marlon Wayans, sir. You blindly threw that pot behind you and arrogantly presumed he'd be there to catch it. That shit's on you, sir.
Marina, go and check on this.
But very casually, as if there aren't screams coming from the adjacent room.
Now, don't touch anything else.
But then how would he thief?
Yeah, it must be the only way she can get guys to come home with her.
Nothing wins a woman over by the end of a movie like a man whose instinct is to immediately insult her at every turn. This poor f***ing bunny just trapped in a dark storage room.
If you don't tell me which scroll it is, I'll have to kill you painfully.
If Tommy the Goblin thing has been spying on them, couldn't he have just carried on spying and then stolen the scroll himself? So Marina runs down this alley, screams, and dives headfirst into one of the more neglected entrances to Fraggle Rock. But why, I ask? She can see it from miles away, so why did she take a dive?
Do you think I'm going in that filthy mess?
Oh great, the heroine would rather get dead than get dirty. Glad we're doing representation right.
I want them found.
Right, but they are found. They are literally in front of you and simply need to be gone after. Is the armor on these guards so precious it can't be sewer slimed? This is a city run by mages, and this is your wanted poster? You couldn't have used some of that Harry Potter magic photo shit? They didn't even include her glasses.
Marina of Potenza, student mage, is sought for the brutal murder of Vilden Vilder.
The gang is hiding behind this cart and wondering how to prove their innocence, which is made pretty ridiculous when we pan over to see these guys who can definitely see them and hear everything they're saying.
You allow a slip of a girl to escape you.
The movie told us that the land of Izmir is divided, but failed to mention the deep-rooted misogyny that leaks out from scene to scene like pus from under the toenail after a run-in with fungus on a damp night barefoot in a swamp. Profion casts a spell that does a whole bunch of plot-convenient bullshit. There's no resisting it. It doesn't need any words or spell components. It'll allow Profion to spy on him, and later it will even be used to read someone else's mind. I don't know if this spell really exists in Dungeons & Dragons, but if it does, it had better be called Plot Plantitude. Let it be known that there is no makeup on Earth that will stand up to match Bruce Payne's exertion efforts in this scene. Discount Moss Eisley Cantina, like heavily discounted, like basically free at this point. Our dumbass group of adventurers winds up at this bustling tavern filled with people. What happened to remaining safely incognito while discussing government secrets? Sure, the dwarf is hungry for dinner, but there are other places to divvy up stolen loot and pore over a magical scroll that doesn't have a million potentially treacherous eyes on you while you eat.
Why don't you try and rise above being a dwarf?
Marina goes on to prove that she's not only racist, but classist. And honestly, I'm not sure why anyone sticks with her at this point, even with the potential gold that may be awarded after an imminent war.
Have you ever heard of honor amongst thieves?
Yes, that's kind of why we're doing this video. Oh boy, you didn't think we were sending you because we actually wanted to watch this movie, did you? Awkward.
Unlike a bunch of backstabbing mages.
That is just the sort of half-baked, illiterate drivel that proves commoners really are common.
Both sides of this debate annoy me equally and make me wish for a TPK just so that we can start fresh with a party I actually give a shit about. I suppose whoever made that wanted poster must have guessed that Marina would spontaneously stop needing glasses as soon as the action started. And don't give me that, well, maybe she just needs them for reading because they are nowhere to be seen when she starts reading this map. This is just a bullshit trope to show that she's evolved from librarian to adventurer and no longer succumbs to the weakness of corrective eyewear.
You know, those red marks there look like the locks my father used to put on plans in his carriages.
This somehow will be the key to unlocking the secrets of this scroll, and it's some bullshit that it comes from secondhand knowledge from a mechanic and not the mages that actually trained in this shit. Forgetting charisma when building your stat block.
Eleanor, Sala, Madara!
Apparently the scroll's been enchanted for maximum drama since it immediately transported Marina but decided to wait a few seconds after Ridley spoke the same words to make him look like a dumbass for a while. In an astonishingly confusing move, the movie makes the Inside the Scroll adventure a bullet point rather than a chapter. I'm confident that they are f***ing with us and purposely removing anything that sniffs of an actual D&D adventure from this movie. Damodar is actually bothering to bribe this random dude instead of beating him to death for the information.
Do not let them escape, or you will suffer a fate far worse than that which hath been inflicted upon me.
Lines which hath been forsooth appointed excessive worditude to soundeth more grandiose than they hitherto hath diddeth before. For whence one doth writeth fantasy, one musteth over do it. Death.
Excuse me, little man.
Snails just picked up a person and moved them out of the way and wasn't immediately corrected by anyone in this bar. You know, oftentimes these fantasy movies are designed to make the viewer want to be part of the world, but I'm honestly rooting for everyone to be eaten by dragons.
Are you looking for somebody in particular?
Oh, I get it. Norda is the best tracker in a land because the people she's tracking literally walk right up to her. Seems a bit cheap, but use your powers, I guess.
What's the problem, Ridley?
I kinda committed us to find it.
And other than an implied boner, that's all the reason we'll get to justify Ridley accepting this crazy mission that he just spent 5 minutes describing as impossible and stupid.
This Eye of the Dragon we're supposed to get, it's a ruby the size of your fist.
And suddenly Snails is on board too, as if the value of the prize has anything to do with making the shit you have to go through to get it less deadly.
So we use her to help us get it. and we'll take off.
She can hear this, right? Because Marina should absolutely be able to hear this.
Oh, really? I know I'm gonna regret this.
Foreshadowing.
How about you?
I don't see what choice I have.
What? He has all the choices. Damodar doesn't really give a shit about him. He just wants Marina and the scroll. Not Gimli here could just lay low for a while. He doesn't need to commit himself to this quest.
If I help, who's gonna pay me?
We'll worry about that later.
That's a terrible way to do business.
This movie is so f***ing dumb.
Get it?
Okay, buddy, your direction for this character is to have an affectation like Hannibal Lecter, but dialed up to 1,000.
If I ain't drinking, you sure ain't shopping.
Here's a sin for all the players who spend 3 hours shopping for magical items and the agony it causes your dungeon master who had prepared 2 encounters, 3 betrayals, and a particularly juicy political conspiracy. This is not immediately followed by rolling initiative.
Have you ever heard of the Antaeus Guild maze?
Of course. Every thief has heard of it.
And yet, Riff Raff here will still go on to explain it in great detail. Makes sense to us, but it must be bloody annoying for Ridley here, who just said he knows what it is. We have a scroll to get the map, to get the clue, to go to the maze, to get the gem, to visit another place. This movie feels like a whole bunch of dungeon masters got together and injected their own dungeon crawl ideas without understanding that a movie is different than a campaign where no one cares what happened 2 months ago when you last met. Whenever we see mazes like this in content, I'm always left wondering how anyone was dumb enough to die in them. For example, this trap that Ridley clearly triggers by accident, but is completely unscathed by. Also, the rogue enters a dungeon crawl and doesn't immediately check for traps? D&D nerd or not, everyone knows you check for traps.
Be careful, Ridley!
Non-specific words of encouragement, Ridley! Ridley accidentally steps on the wrong colored eye here, and you would think that would be a big deal, but it is not. Ah, this is one of those helpful trapdoors, which looks like it's closing but actually stops, goes back up, and waits for you to jump through before fully closing. You know, for maximum drama. But that's not even a fucking riddle. Why would smashing the timer logically have any effect on the rapidly descending spikes? Ah! This could have been the funnest part of the movie if even 10% more effort had been put into the puzzles. Now I'm just left wishing these people would wake up in the cube and be put through a real nightmare.
You know, I waited 15 years for someone to come along and pick that lock. So, why don't you give me what's rightfully mine?
Let me get this straight. Xylus has been sitting on this ruby for 15 years, waiting for someone to come along and complete the maze so that he could steal it from them. And as with most of the decisions in this movie, I find myself screaming, "Why?" into a void of frustration. Wouldn't it have been quicker to just dismantle the damn maze? Or since he's stinking rich, why doesn't he just hire a bunch of people to go in and take it? 15 years is a long-ass time to wait.
Who the hell are you?
Better question, how was anyone surprised about the arrival of a brightly dressed and very noisy small army?
Clear path, and I'll put it out.
Lighting a map on fire has to be one of the dumbest things I have ever seen in a movie. And don't tell me it's fireproof because some magic bullshit, because if that was the case, this threat wouldn't pay off. Marina is struggling to reach for this map as if someone is holding her back. I actually wouldn't be surprised if there was supposed to be some sort of CGI creature holding her back here that they just forgot to add in post. Top-notch miming for sure, but 0 points for continuity. Also, the drama of this step-on-scroll moment is really castrated when, you know, Damodar doesn't actually step on the scroll. Marina is a magic user, right? We've seen her do spells and shit, so why is she so fucking helpless here? She hasn't got one spell that would help her out? Not even that bracelet rope thing we saw earlier? Marina, you gotta save her. The movie cliche that never dies.
They will travel with us. Should they try to escape, kill them.
Just kill them now. You don't fucking need these guys anymore. Or at least arrest them and send them away instead of using your precious manpower watching them. And based on their performance so far, she has no reason to believe they will be of any use to her on this trip.
Why were you at the Thieves' Guild? It isn't exactly a sightseeing spot, is it?
You're a disgrace to Izmir.
Why are we all whispering? Sharing earbuds. The thieves that know how to pick locks and sneak around in the dark opt for a broad daylight climb as they pass an unguarded entrance to the castle.
Ridley, look! Beholders!
Yeah, I know about these things and they will f your shit up. Time to see an epic battle.
Relax, Snails. We'll just sneak around them.
What the shit? One of the most badass and infamous monsters of all D&D, and they're relegated to an easily distracted, poorly rendered name check.
We were not meant to enter this place. This task, they must complete alone.
What kind of bullshit is that? It's as if the movie wants Ridley and Snails to do this alone, but also knows that the party staying behind makes no sense, so someone just tacked on this bullshit. It was foretold they must go alone nonsense.
Piece of cake!
Premature snailibration.
Just like you thieves, always taking things that don't belong to you.
Now, I'm mad.
but why? Thieves do take things that don't belong to them, and using that fact as an insult was really f***ing lame of Damodar. I have no idea what class Ridley is supposed to be. He picks locks and steals like a rogue, handles a greatsword like a barbarian, kicks ass like a monk, solves puzzles like a wizard, and charms people like a bard. You can't multi-class all the classes, you f***ing nerd. No. Also, I think I'm supposed to be feeling things here, but Snail's death was pretty meaningless, and honestly, I'm more attached to the bonus round of all the squeaks Marlon Wayans made that has been cut short by them killing his character off. I guess I'll just take what I got so far and make this scene at least 5% more powerful.
This council was created to protect the people of Izmir.
The whole Empress B plot feels like somebody watched a double feature of The Never-Ending Story and The Phantom Menace and learned the worst lessons from both. Also, if you ever have a dungeon master buddy that is planning out the politically charged, pivotal momentum shift for the campaign, please force them to watch this scene. Hopefully this moment, akin to having dry toast shoved down the throat, will dissuade them from talking to themselves about nothing interesting for 5 minutes. That said, I would prefer to watch a friend talk as several people for 5 minutes than watch this scene.
War benefits no one, Prothean, and I oppose it. But if it is necessary to obtain the freedom of our people...
I don't know, it sounds like a pretty big benefit to me. I'm not saying I'm pro-war, but I don't know how I can support an argument that immediately undermines itself. Slow claps.
Then is now not the time we should act.
Selling a line so much that you accidentally go full Italian hands.
Hello, Ridley.
They dragged England's national treasure and fourth Doctor Who, Tom Baker, into this mess? For shame! Although if Doctor Who in any way inspired this movie, the special effects suddenly make so much more sense.
I had a dream.
You saw a dragon being born.
It was amazing. Life was exploding all around.
Using the adjective exploding while discussing a birth story. If you ever wondered why the elf seems to level up faster than the rest of the party, it's the amount of effort exerted during fights to swing a sword around the circumference of her ridiculously overcrafted breastplate. Complete with nipples, by the way! The additional skill needed to avoid the useless obstruction has her in an entirely different difficulty class. I think it's called the Joel Schumacher class.
I'm sorry about snails.
But not sorry enough to portal back to his body and try some sort of resurrection spell. Now, I'd probably lean towards that being a bit argumentative if a resurrection wasn't exactly what is implied at the end of the movie.
Politics. I'm through with all that.
He makes it sound like he's an exhausted senator that's been fighting the good fight for too long. You're a fucking thief, dude. You were never in it enough to justify being through with it now.
You never had to live on the other side.
Hey, Ridley, if you keep this up, I'm gonna have to skip, and you won't get the benefit of a short rest. The DM has spoken.
Protheon seeks to dethrone her because she believes that mages and commoners should be treated as equals. That really is what Snails died for.
Actually, I don't really know what Snails died for. It definitely wasn't for the equality thing, because you're only just sharing that shit about the Empress now. Come to think of it, Marina could have got them both on board a lot quicker if she'd shared this information at the start. They stand to gain the most from the Empress succeeding, after all.
It will protect you.
Well, now you're just using the wrong source material, and that's definitely going to get you stung. Who the f are these people that we never see again?
It's a wall of force of some kind.
Only you were meant to pass.
I'm glad everyone got all dressed up and ready to go, just so that we could split the party and have them do very little for the rest of the movie. That's fun. Also, it sure is lucky that Ridley happens to fit the criteria for whatever only the chosen one may enter bullshit that makes this magic wall work. If a couple of even bigger assholes had been stealing from the magic school, would the world have been screwed? Also, aren't they supposed to be not going after the rod anymore? Boomer from Wonder Park said,
It must not be disturbed.
So why the f are they disturbing it? They have control of the map, and even if they didn't, I doubt that Protheon or Damodar is going to be worthy enough to get through the barrier. The only reason Protheon ends up with the damn thing is that Ridley goes in there and gets it for him. Movie robs us of yet another opportunity for a fun dungeon puzzle by simply letting Ridley accidentally his way to an entrance with 0 traps.
I am Seville, creator of the rod, sentenced to this purgatory until someone worthy of its power takes it.
Man, these f***ing quests to get world-ending items are always so f***ing complicated and almost never for the right reasons. The movie says Fantasy Neo can have the rod because he's the one, but the facts say he's just haphazardly found his way to all the important places at just the right time. He accidentally knew the scroll's bidet password, had a mage with him to work out a conversation with a wraith, acquired a map that led to a maze that was so easy it could have been a game show, easily snagged the gem key and fell down a hole that led to the right door. Why would anyone think this quest would prove prove someone's worthiness to bring balance to the Force. People talk a lot about the weird skeleton dude being an undead magical genius, but rarely does anyone reference his incredible talent for mural painting.
The Empress has called out her dragons upon us.
Kids.
Prepare to fire!
Not a single one of these assholes hit the mark. Aren't they supposed to be the most powerful magic users in Izmir? I know we've ragged on the effects of this movie a lot, but it really does feel like the director just discovered CGI and said, well, damn, that sounds easier and cheaper than filming real things, and we could do it all from my office? Yeah, let's go, Craig. And Craig was like, no, it's not that simple, and actually there's an argument that I said, let's fucking go, Craig.
I found the rod!
Thanks for saving me the trouble.
Yeah, but you could have saved yourself even more trouble if you think about it. The goal is to get the rod, so why didn't Damodar just let Ridley and the gang do all the hard work and keep tabs on them with Tommy the Goblin Goyle here? I mean, this is how he ends up getting the rod anyway, so why wasn't this plan A? I have no idea where these knives came from. Either Norda wasn't properly disarmed, which is fucking dumb, or these guards just happened to store their knives on opposite sides to each other in easy reach of Norda, which is equally dumb. Having said that, they both react in pain before they've even been stabbed, so I feel like they may have woken up this morning and resigned themselves to be the red shirts of this story.
Destiny!
Jeremy Irons is easily the most entertaining part of this movie, but by the Raven Queen, someone turned his villain dial all the way up to Dick Dastardly, and that is several notches too far for me. Screaming out the name of your enemy when you have the advantage of a sneak attack. Not that I'm sure what class Ridley is anymore, as he's about to go full greatsword fight. Yay! The dragons didn't get the Empress. Wait, no! We don't want the dragons to kill each other because magic should be part of the world or something. Wait, no. Yeah! Kill each other to save the people! No! The balance! The common thief is somehow an equal match for the head of the Red Guard. Sorry, Ridley, but you can't just get a new sword and then I know Kung Fu the rest of it. I guess I won't be needing this powerful weapon that gave me a massive advantage a moment ago anymore.
Not so talented, eh, Mr. Ridley?
Hardy har har, movie. We see you, and you haven't nearly earned the right to wink at us this hard.
I've enjoyed our little chat, but now it's your time to die.
Honestly, I think the movie could have gotten away CGIing Jeremy Irons and just dubbing all of his lines from Lion King and Die Hard with a Vengeance, and none of us would have been the wiser for it. I mean, cool. Yeah, let's hang out while someone casts a 3-minute-long spell and do nothing. So to be clear, controlling the red dragons was bad, but keeping control of the yellow ones was totally fine? Sure, yeah, leave an incredibly valuable gem on a stack of stones in a graveyard. No reason to sell it for spell components and snag a true resurrection scroll.
Do not question your gift. Your friend awaits you.
Oh, this movie thought it was getting a sequel. Oh shit, it did get a sequel? Oh, but it was made for TV and has nothing to do with this story other than Damodar turns up? Well, here's 100 extra sins in good faith, knowing that we'll never sin that movie. And so the dumbass thief/warrior/mage/bard/monk accidentally casts Disintegrate upon his friends, and they all died a swirly, colorful death. The end.
We're not playing Dungeons and Dragons, ass face!
Hey!
Ichiban, lipstick for men.
You don't like that, do you? Good.
Let the hate flow through you.
In time, with our counsel, she will come to understand why things cannot be changed.
I'm surrounded by idiots. You allow a slip of a girl to escape you with the scroll.
Hook, line, and sinker.
Can you hear me now?
They were with him when he hid from the boys in the bookstore. But that's impossible! They were with him when he took the book with the orange symbol on the cover, in which he's reading his own story right now.
Hello, Ridley.
Gandalf? So tell me, what's troubling you?
Vader's here. Now, on this moon.
Now I have a machine gun. Ho, ho.